Welcome to Political Connections.
Welcome to Political Connections. I'm Yvette Brusual. You know, the month of August in Washington was pretty hectic for Congress, going back and forth with the Senate and the White House on that heated debt ceiling debate at the beginning of the month. And then, of course, the subsequent downgrading of the United States credit rating with Standard & Poor's from a AAA to a never seen before in the history of the U.S., a AA+. Here to talk about that and more is Representative Dan Webster from Florida's 8th. Let's go through what happened in Washington. So negotiations happened in July, then a vote on the resolution in the House August 1st. What did you actually do as part of the ongoing debate?
Well, I gave a little bit of advice. I don't know if it was heard or not, but it seems like it. I felt like we should not be going over to the White House to discuss an issue that dealt with the House and Senate. I thought our leaders should visit with each other. The Senate and House come together and come up with a plan. That took place. We had passed cut, cap, and balance. The Senate did not respond to that, just as they had not responded to a couple other things we had done, including our budget that we sent to them. However, I felt like if we got together, maybe there could be a moderation of that. And sure enough, that took place. There was this new final agreement was cut, cap, and balance, a little bit lighter than I would have liked to have been. It cuts spending in the first year. It puts a cap on spending in future years, out 10 years, and it balanced. There's going to be a balanced budget amendment that's going to be heard in both House and Senate before the end of the year, which is the first time in 15 years that has taken place. So I think that balanced budget amendment, if it were to pass, would go to the states. The states would have to ratify it, and it would be in the Constitution.
When it comes to this negotiation back and forth, I really do think that we have never seen so much bipartisan partisanship. It's a mess. And when the average American is trying to understand what's going up in Washington, it seems like the folks up there can't figure it out themselves. Everything, it's either Democrat or Republican, and we're not going to meet you halfway.
Yes, well, I think that's a picture of where we are. We have a Republican House, which is a little more than a majority of a third of the government. We have a mixed Senate, which can't pass hardly anything. Either way, no matter where you move on the political spectrum line, you gain votes and lose votes, but not enough to pass something. Harry Reid couldn't even pass his own debt ceiling, his own chamber. And then there's the president, who's Democrat. So you see that mix, and it causes friction, it does, and it causes distrust, and there is. But in the end, something had to happen, and I think the president engaging himself in something that was purely legislative was a wrong move. The president has a veto. He stays apart from that. He can certainly send people or send advice, but he shouldn't be chairing the negotiations. The negotiations should have been between the House and Senate, which they eventually became, and within a week after that happened, there was a bill that came forward that passed both House and Senate, and the president ended up signing it.
But isn't that when the politics really step in? I mean, we're looking ahead to 2012, and he may want to look at the person who brokered the deal. Let me help out my country. So some would say there's nothing wrong with that, with him wanting to help out, but then we got to think we're looking forward to election time.
Yes. Standard procedure, though, is in a legislative body or the Congress is that the House passes a plan, the Senate passes a plan, they negotiate, and then the president or the governor or whoever it is gets the final look because they have a veto pen, which is a big instrument in somebody's hand. Sure. And so I think that you want to know what he's thinking, but he should not be the chairman of the committee between House and Senate. He should not do that. It should be done between the House and Senate. Once that took place, it worked out, and he ended up signing the legislation. Now it's law.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about, you actually voted yes, we know that much. A list of the representatives in our area that voted no. Of course, Democrat Corinne Brown. Also, we've got Republicans Cliff Stearns, Dennis Ross, Bill Posey. Why do you think they voted no? And did they have any discussions with you about what was going on and vice versa?
Right. I think Democrats voted no because it did too much. There were some Republicans, including those, that didn't think it did enough. I personally felt the same way, but the run my legislative career has been, if I'm 51% for that, there's a yes vote, there's a yes button and a no vote, a no button. red or green. And so you have to push one or the other. And for me, I was more than 50% sure that this was an idea that could work and would be a first step towards balancing the budget. There were others who believed it needed to be more, and they voted no.
Let's talk about the Standard & Poor's credit rating change. We know what happened afterwards. Even though it passed, S&P said, you know what, we're still going to knock you down a notch, a big notch. It never happened in the history of the United States. Was it fair and accurate assessment of the situation?
Well, first of all, there were two rating agencies that maintained the AAA credit. There was one, Standard & Poor's, who said they were going to reduce it to a AA+. I looked at their logic, and I think it was fair. Their assessment was fair because this particular piece of legislation leaves open some things that need to happen in the future. And I think there was either a may or may not happen. Will the balanced budget amendment pass the House and Senate? That's still left open. They don't know.
That's a big question mark.
That's a big question mark.
Okay.
Will the 6 members of the House and 6 members of the Senate be able to get together and come up with cuts that would amount to $1.2 trillion more? That's still a question mark. And so those question marks, I think, made them say, we're not going to wait and see. We're going to say, no, AA+ is what they deserve, and that's what they're going to get.
Okay.